Welcome into College Football Every Game on the Board podcast, week number 8. This is section number 1, where we're talking the weekday games, Saturday action here on the college football slate, every single game on the board. With our first guest, Jeff Nadeau at Jeff Nadeau. Jeff, welcome on in, buddy. How you feeling?
Pretty good, Drew. Let's get after it. Another week.
Another week, another dollar, another game. We got 2 games here on Wednesday, 1 on Thursday, and then 4 Friday games before hitting the Saturday card. So we got in rotation order, 307, 308, 7 o'clock Eastern, Delaware and Jacksonville State. We are seeing Delaware minus 3-point road favorites. There is a 2.5 with juice, 57.5 being the total here, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of lukewarm on this one. I feel like if you could find a 2.5, I'd probably play Delaware, maybe even a 3. I'm not going crazy on this game. You have to remember, you're betting a team that just came into FBS. They're going on the road. They've had some turnover problems. It's a pretty far trip for Delaware. They got to go all the way down to Alabama, which is where Jacksonville State is. It's a weekday game. Good thing for them. They've had 12 days to prepare. They were off. They had before that, though, a Friday night game. So they had an extra day or 2 here, and they're off the bye. That said, again, you see some of the problems that persist for Delaware, things that, you just have to kind of get used to. I mean, they fumble a lot inside the red zone. Nick Minicucci, that was kind of one of their problems against West Kentucky in a game that they lost pretty late. So I feel like if they could just kind of tie those loose ends up, they'll be fine. Jacksonville State struggles, not a real good football team, really kind of a triple option type of group. And when you look at Delaware, they've played pretty well against triple option quarterbacks. They've held those kind of rushing first quarterbacks in line, whether it's, Delaware State's quarterback, whether it's Colorado's quarterback. They've done a nice job against triple option teams or teams that are wanting to run the football out with their quarterback. So I lean Delaware here, but just know, you're betting on a team that is going to make those little G5 mistakes.
Yeah, good start here, Jeff. Nice analysis. As we got the second game here for Wednesday night, UTEP and Sam Houston State. We are seeing the Miners minus 3, 2.5 again, kind of a split line here as the road favorite, 47 and a hook being the total. Sam Houston State, 0-6 out the gate, 1-5 against the spread. UTEP, they had a tough time last time out as well, Jeff. Are you liking anything in this Lone Star State battle?
Yeah, it's a real bottom of the barrel type of game. It's probable that Sam Houston, I guess maybe they win a game. I could see them maybe beating like a Middle Tennessee, but this is a team that hasn't won a game. They're not likely to win a game. It's been kind of a rough go of it. I think what I would like about this game and feel like maybe this is also a winnable game is just the fact that, look, I know they're 0-6, but they played West Kentucky, UNLV, who's undefeated, Hawaii, Texas. They have a tougher schedule, but I guess what was the excuse against, Jacksonville State? Why couldn't you win that game? What was the excuse against New Mexico State? So I just don't feel like they're ever really a team I want to play on. And all due respect, I'm not really running to lay points on the road with UTEP either. I have no idea about this game. 2 teams that can't move the ball, 2 teams that can't really stop anybody. I don't know. Flip a coin.
Jeff, kind of to what we're just talking about here, Zach on YouTube, Every Game on the Board YouTube. Reminder for me last night that these midweek games are so trappy. Like, how was Western Kentucky that putrid last night? I think it's a great point by Zach, Jeff. And to tell you the truth, one thing that I bring up is when you're betting these games, like Conference USA, even the low end of the Sun Belt, it's just like you're that much closer to high school rather than to the NFL. And just crazy things happen. Like, it's not the greatest of players. It's not the greatest of coaches. And wild things can happen. That's something that I always like to bring up in these midweek games.
This is why I really don't bet Sunbelt, Conference USA. I really just don't bet it. And you're 100% right. He's 100% right. Throw in the randomness of midweek games, which even for the bigger schools are difficult. Even for the NFL. The NFL tells you all you need to know about middle week games. Nobody wants to play on Thursday night. The games generally suck. They're trappy, as he said. Look, I can lose a game, with good players and good teams. And generally, when you're betting on Power 5 and like let's even say like American games,
Yeah.
you can kind of count on what they'll do. But like I look at last week as a prime example. I very rarely bet the MAC. Okay. I bet Toledo. They were up 21-0 in the game, in a revenge game against Bowling Green. Bowling Green went to a backup quarterback, came all the way back and won. Now, Drew, at that point, and I believe their history, Bowling Green has never come back down 21 or more points. They were 0-75 in their football program. And they did it last week.
Oh,
so,
man.
And again, I look at what I do. It's just I don't really wager much in these conferences, and that's the reason for it. I mean, if you want to know all you need to know about these conferences, last night is a prime example, as he's talking about. You have a West Kentucky team at home against FIU. They lose and only score 6 points. It's just extremely random. I know that like Liberty was up a pretty high. They almost lost. It's just a mess. So yeah, I would avoid these types of games unless you have a definitive edge. I could see maybe backing Delaware tonight, but just know you're betting on this type of stuff. And this is a team that just came in to FBS, so it's extra double bad.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could make the argument they were successful at FCS. I kind of like their uniforms, but you're right. I mean,
they do have a veteran quarterback. They have a good coach. Like, you want to look at, if you're gonna bet this conference, you want to look at obviously the higher echelon type of teams. But like even last week, Old Dominion, okay, they were rolling. Okay, hadn't lost to anybody. The only loss was to Indiana. They were looking at a possible G5 playoff berth. All they had to do was keep winning. What they do last week, go on the road and lose by like 20 to Marshall of all teams.
Mm-hmm.
You can't even generally trust some of the big teams in these conferences. So yeah, I would avoid. I don't bet on much. I would avoid.
Well, thank you for the comment there, Zach. And we got Thursday night here and talking about, the American, taking a little bit of a step up here, 7:30 Eastern, ESPN. It is Tulsa and ECU. We are seeing the Pirates minus 17 at most shops, 54 being the total. It's been a tough year here for Tulsa. They're going on the road.
Yeah, I like the under. I mentioned last week I like the under with ECU and Tulane. Flew under. Something I'm noticing about both ECU and Tulane, pretty good defenses, very good in the red zone defensively. They're going to give some yards up, but when they get to the red zone, they don't give up much. And here's the thing about ECU and Tulane. They're not good in the red zone either. Tulane's dreadful. ECU's not much better. ECU also pisses away a lot of drives going for it on fourth down. Their play calling is just terrible. ECU actually has a pretty good defense. Tulsa's really struggling, under 19 points a game this season. It's really been a rough go of it. I think as long as we don't have ECU putting up 45 here, I think this game is going to go under the total. 54.5 is just a little too high for me. I could see this one, 38-10, a 41-7, 31-13, something like that. I'm going to go under 54.5. Again, ECU, I can't trust enough to score touchdowns. They just haven't done it at a real high level. Like last week's game should have probably flew over, but both teams just could not score in the red zone. So I'm going to bank on those teams with the way they play. ECU does play pretty fast, but hopefully we can just, they could score a bunch and Tulsa doesn't do much of anything.
Makes sense, Jeff. And we are seeing 54.5 as the high water mark there. If you're liking the under Tulsa ECU.
I can see this game shaking out a lot like the Army game did for ECU, where they just kind of rode roughshod. They got into the 30s and just didn't give much up from Army. So,
all right, let's turn the page here. Friday, October 17th, we got 4 games, Friday Night Lights. Louisville and Miami's first one up, 3:15, 3:16, 7 o'clock Eastern. We are heading to the Hard Rock here in Miami-Dade County, minus 13.5. That is the Hurricanes as the home favorite, 52 being the total. Interesting to see this number right under two touchdowns here, 13.5 across the board, Jeff.
Yeah, both teams off a bye, so both teams will be fresh. I think the thing for the Miami Hurricanes is you just don't really get the same home atmosphere to me that you get with some of the other bigger programs, right? Like it doesn't feel like an SEC game to me. you're not going into like a Penn State or something like that. Miami's kind of a lukewarm home environment. But for me to back Louisville here, I need more than 2 touchdowns. I actually mentioned I like Louisville a lot. I think they're a team that could go in and pull an upset. They were going to be thought a team in the ACC that could be a real kind of wrench, an oil in the wrench there. I look at their offense. It's really good. Miller Moss can throw the football. They've got plenty of weapons. I just wonder, are they a little bit one-dimensional? If they can't throw the football, where do they go for offense? This is a much improved Miami defense. Corey Heatherman's done a really, really nice job. And we've seen Miami shut down some really good offenses. I mean, say what you want about South Florida, but that's a great offense. You shut them down to just 12 points. Though I was a little concerned with what Miami allowed in the fourth quarter against Florida State. They really, I think, just took their foot off the gas, kind of were cruising into a bowl week or a bye week and just kind of let the foot off the gas. I don't think they're going to do that again. That said, I think Louisville's talented, and I think we'll get theirs. I kind of like the over a little bit. I thought the total was a little too low for me. Louisville's just going to throw. They're going to be down in this game. I feel like they can get into the 20s. I could see this 34-21, 35-24. I think the total's a tad low. If it was 55, I'd probably stay away. But at 52-ish, am I going to play this? Probably not. But to give an opinion on every game, I'm going to lean over here.
Sure, and we are seeing the low water mark 51. So, yeah, guys, Louisville, Miami, we got next up in the Big Ten.
If you can get a 51, I'd play a 51, definitely.
I'm seeing in Vegas, Caesars just went to 51. It's 52 at most shops, but
okay.
FanDuel hanging a 51 and a half.
It's 27 because on a 51, 27-24 will you get a push. But I think it'd find a way over if even 52.
Like it, Jeff. We got next one up, Nebraska and Minnesota, some Big Ten Friday night action. We are seeing the Cornhuskers -7.5 to as high as -8.5 as the road favorite. 46 and a hook being the total in Minneapolis.
Yeah, this is I think it's a little high for me. I like Nebraska. I liked them last week. I thought they were kind of the play there, but the defense, I don't know. I can't figure out some of these teams. I mean, they look like shutdown defenses, and then you play them and they give up 34, 35 points. I really can't figure out Nebraska. I also wonder, they're newly ranked, which I always like to play, teams that just get newly ranked and aren't generally ranked. We also have to wonder, there's a lot of talk about their coach. He might leave. I think they're kind of a tedious group for me to back. They're not a type that I want to lay, essentially double digits with, which is what I'm doing here. To win this game, you got to win by 10. I mean, it's rare they're going to win by 8 or 9. And if they win by 7, you lose. So, I mean, Minnesota finds ways to dirty games up. I think defensively, they're kind of right there with Nebraska. Throw in the fact that they're a home dog here, who is coming off of, a nice win of their own. Anytime you can win in the Big Ten, it's good, especially for a Purdue team that's been a little upstart this year. Have a nice win for Minnesota against Rutgers. I think this is too high. I would take Minnesota here plus the point.
Yeah, and Jeff, when you said they're newly ranked, that means in the top 25, and the next week you look to go against them. Is that what you were getting at?
Generally, yeah. I mean, especially if they're not generally ranked very often. Let's say in college basketball, right? You get a lower end, like in the Big Ten, like Nebraska or teams that generally aren't top level teams. They find a nice start to the season or something. I just think they get a little too, they're not used to being good, right? I think it's just kind of a random thing that I know sometimes will work. Throw in the fact that being ranked in college football, I guess, on the other hand, is not that big a deal. But people still make it out to be a big deal. And I think maybe you get a little big-headed maybe. So I don't know. Okay. It might be an angle that doesn't work, but it seemingly does when I see it.
Yeah, I'm picking up what you're laying down. We got 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific for the next one, Utah State. Oh, man, them against Hawaii. I took the loss on that one. But San Jose State at Utah State next up here. And we are seeing the Aggies of Utah State -3.5 at home, 64 being the total in it's Utah State hosting San Jose State, Logan, Utah.
Over. I think we've kind of overthought what Utah State is. They're no different than they usually are. They cannot stop anybody. Their offense last week moved the ball, but as usual, this team can't stop anybody. I mean, Hawaii just went up and down the field on this group. I mean, and look, to be quite honest, you had Utah State, so did I. I bet Utah State as well. They get shut out in the fourth quarter, 17-0. I mean, the game was, I believe, they were up 1, I believe, going into the fourth quarter and lost. I mean, it shouldn't happen. And the why is they cannot stop anybody. This defense sucks per usual. And it's not just SEC teams that are moving the ball. Hawaii is not a real good offensive team, and they just move the ball on this team. You look at San Jose, they're off a shootout win against Wyoming. I don't know if you watched that game in Laramie. It was back and forth. A lot of big plays in that game. San Jose State throw the ball more than virtually anybody in America. They've got a quarterback, Walker Eget, very good. Kid wants to throw the ball a ton. I think we see a nice pace in this game, back and forth. I think Bryson Barnes gets back on the horse and has a pretty big game here. I think 64 is a little too low. I could see it, 35, 31, something like that. Usually this game is pretty high scoring. Two teams that like to kind of wing it around. So, yeah, I like the over. Last couple matchups between these teams, Drew, 42-21, 35-31, 62-24 a couple of years ago. Generally, these teams are the same. They kind of just don't play defense and have some playmakers. So, yeah, I like the over here.
Yeah, can get it 64, guys, as we got the last one up, the nightcap, Friday Night Lights. North Carolina and Cal. So we got a cross-country trip here for the Tar Heels and Bill Belichick. 47 being the total. Looks like -10 at most shops. There is a 9.5 out there. That's the Golden Bears at home. So we're heading to Berkeley, California, UNC and Cal in this ACC showdown, Jeff.
Yeah, I think when we look back, could this be the worst coaching hire ever? I mean, you got to think about it. I mean, it's just been a real mess, and if you would have told me 10 years ago that, look, what you want to do in your personal life is up to you, I've said on record, I think what Bill Belichick's doing is absolutely disgusting. I think it's bizarre and strange. And if that were my sister, we'd have to have a long talk about her behavior. Weird. I don't want to hear this. Well, they love each other. The guy's like almost 80 years old. She's like 25. It's strange. And it's a circus. He allowed if he didn't come across to me as a guy like that. He seemed like he was very stern. Whether or not I thought he was a great coach, because I don't. I think he's one of the most overrated coaches of all time. Outside of having Tom Brady, he is historically one of the worst win percentage coaches of all time. You can look into it. And we're seeing he is in over his head at having a girlfriend who's completely overtaken his life. And she has ruined, I think, to me, the golden years of his life. She's made him into being a bit of a laughingstock, if we're being honest. I mean, he is, and it's transferred to his football team. They can't move the ball. It's a circus. Nobody wants to back them. Do you want to back them in Cal? But I'll say this. I don't want to back Cal either. Bit of a bipolar team. Looked good for the first couple of weeks and then just kind of fell apart, and they'll win one game, then lose another. Throw in, I don't like Wilcox as a favorite, especially as a double-digit one. So, yeah, this is one that I won't watch. I won't be interested in. I would skip over.
I've heard that before with Bill Belichick, like outside of Tom Brady. What is he under 500? I mean,
he's
under 500.
Well under 500. I'll get you the stat. His win percentage is bad. I mean, it's like 42%, I think. Sorry, he's 83 and 104. Now that's in the NFL.
Okay, and then now you got to add on what he's done here at UNC,
yeah, which is mostly losing. So he's like 42% as a coach. Like he's disastrously bad. Like which is like win percentage is one of the worst in history.
Crazy what a quarterback can do, particularly in the NFL. I've always felt like the NFL is a quarterback league. College football is more of like a coaching league. So it's even going to be probably more pronounced here if he.
I don't get stuff like this. Like especially at his age. Like, I mean, you have all the money in the world. I mean, you live a good life. Like what? Why? What I think is really sad is like. What are you doing to the kids? Like you're just doing this. Well, why are you doing this? You're not here to help kids. Like you're not here to do anything for kids. Like you're basically just making it into a circus. You know, the kids deserve better to me. I don't like it. Just stay retired, live in Cape Cod or wherever it is you're at. And you know, look, you want to take out a 25-year-old, go ahead. But I don't care what you say. It's disgusting and it's strange and it's disturbing.
Well, it's not a money thing either. You know, it's more like I remember guys used to say like the retread NFL head coach that takes the college job. That's a great fade. Usually, every now and again, you'll get a guy that has success. But when he spends most of his time in the NFL and then in his later years comes to college football, a lot of times that is a team you kind of want to look to bet against. But
and again, we have to look at the fact of without Tom Brady, he is not a good football coach. It's just a fact. Like we could pretend that it's not, but it's a fact. Throw in he's old. Like he doesn't. What the hell does he relate? He's even trying to do it with a woman. What does he relate to a 20-ish-year-old like, at all? Like you want your son to be a coach, make him do what every other coach does. Work your way up and not have daddy get you a job. Get your own job. Like that's why he did this. He wants his kid to have a job. The kid's the coach in waiting. That's why I did it. Let the kid do it his own way.
All right, Jeff, we got turning the page here. Saturday, October 18th, 2:30 Eastern, top of the card, 323-324, Buffalo and UMass. We are seeing Buffalo, heavy road favorites, -17, 45 being the total. Buffalo, UMass, top of the Saturday card.
Yeah, I mean, Buffalo is not a real conducive team to lay these types of points at just because they do run the football at a high level. But, I mean, UMass is surely the worst team in the country. How do you lose to Kent State 42-6? I mean, that's hard to do. Buffalo is actually a pretty damn good defense. Yeah, I was kind of wondering, though, with this number, like, why did it get bet down? Like, who's betting UMass? I guess – somebody out there. I know maybe Buffalo just takes them lightly or something, but this is the kind of game where you just kind of cruise in. I mean, you look, Drew, at every every UMass game, they've lost every game by 18 or more points against FBS competition. They actually lost as well to Bryant, 27-26. So they're not going to win a game. They're not going to win this game. There would be no way I'd be back in UMass here. It would only be Buffalo or pass.
Yeah, fade the Minutemen. We got next one up, Coastal Carolina and App State, 3:30 Eastern. We are seeing App -10.5 at home, 50 being the total as the Chanticleers head to Boone, North Carolina.
Yeah, it's been a long year for Coastal so far. I mean, they're kind of one of these teams that can't move the ball, can't really stop anybody either. App State is kind of quietly, winning football games. And all of a sudden, I mean, JMU plays Old Dominion this week. If they lose that game, and let's say App State win here, I mean, they're 5-2. App State is right there in this conference, just kind of quietly just winning football games. They've got a good quarterback. They've kind of gotten defensively there a little bit. They did play a tough schedule. They played Boise. They had a couple of tough games in there. That said, I mean, with this number, it's kind of right where I had it. I'm not really running to play over a 10 here. I had 9. So, I mean, I guess, if it were a little lower, I'd probably get involved. Coastal is one of these teams where I feel like when you beat Coastal, you generally beat them by margin. I mean, they're really never in any game. The only game they won was against quality competition was last week. They beat UM Monroe, who's worse. Monroe's terrible. So yeah, other than that, they've lost every game by double digits. So I lean App State here at home.
Next one up, Big 12 conference battle, 1:00 Eastern in the bounce house. It is West Virginia and UCF. We are seeing UCF -7, -7.5 at a lot of shops. 47 being the total. Mountaineers heading to Orlando, Florida to take on the Golden Knights, Jeff.
Yeah, it's I guess the bye came at the right time for West Virginia. I actually thought they played okay against BYU. I mean, they gave up a lot of points, and BYU really shot themselves in the foot with penalties, and West Virginia scored a late touchdown to cover that game. That was a rough beat. Those are rough ones, Drew. Those games where you lay a number or any kind of game late night, like you stay up and you're hoping. Like I actually played BYU small in that game. I played 18. They're up 21, and I just have to avoid the late touchdown. And it's like 1 a.m. Like they allow it in. It's like, come on, man. Like seriously. I mean, West Virginia had to move the ball the whole game, and of course, BYU using that stupid prevent defense, and they don't care. So I feel like the bye came at the right time. That said, I mean, the quarterback situation continues to be very dire for West Virginia. They can't throw the ball. All they can do is run it. The problem is UCF's not a real good defensive team. They can't throw the football either. They have 2 or 3 quarterbacks they're just dreadful. I actually like the under here. It's like 47, I think. I'd lean under.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on the late nights. They tend to sting more. Even if you're betting the same amount of money, I'd rather lose early in the day and win later in the day. So then you had to follow it up with the Hawaii.
No, Hawaii, that ended like that was a rough one because like I was out and like I was watching it and like they were playing well. And I got to the end of the night where like I was leaving, I'm talking to people, I'm waiting for the lift. I get home and it's like, really? Like you get shut out in the fourth quarter? And it's like 2 in the morning. It's like those are rough ones because you're drunk and you're like, why am I doing this? Like, I kind of feel like just terrible.
Yeah, no, we've all been there, man. Yeah, those are a little rough. As we got next one up. Speaking of rough, heading to the MAC conference, EMU in Miami of Ohio, Eastern Michigan at Miami O. -13, that is Miami O as the home favorite. They've taken money. It's bounced up about almost a field goal here. 47 being the total. Eastern Michigan, Miami of Ohio.
Yeah, so I saw a guy in the comments. I forget who it was. Montgomery, I think his name is.
Yeah, David Montgomery. Yeah, he's around.
Yeah, he was saying like, shame on Jeff. Like, why does he say like he doesn't want to cover certain game? I mean, because some of these games suck. I mean, quite honestly, like I've always got to those people. They're like, oh, any game is handicapable, and it's like, no, it isn't. Like, there's just games I'm not interested in. And look, like we've talked about, like we go over every game, and these are the games that I have to go over. I like EMU and I like them as a dog, but I'm not getting enough points for me to get involved with them. Like to get literally involved with EMU against a quality team like Miami O, I need at least 2 touchdowns, which I'm not getting here. On the other side, Miami O, great defense, but it seems like week to week the quarterback's a problem with this group. They don't really know who they want to play, whether it's Finn or Hessen. They don't really know. Throw in. We just talked about these types of conferences. Stupid things happen. I mean, last week, Miami O covered, but it wasn't easy. They were laying 11. Probably should have covered by a lot more, but they just kind of played with their food. They won by 13. That was enough. So I don't have interest in Miami O games. They just don't score enough points a lot of the time for me to want to get involved. And you know, Eastern Michigan's been better in years past, but they're not a real good football team this year. So nothing on this one.
We'll step back to the AAC here. We get FAU and USF, Florida Atlantic at South Florida, 7:30 Eastern, Raymond James Stadium. It is South Florida, the Bulls being the total. I believe this is the highest total game on the board. And these two teams, over the past couple of years, haven't really liked each other. There's been a little bit of a rivalry, but FAU with a new coach, not sure if that's going to roll over. I have no interest in the under here, Jeff. I think both these two teams score a bunch. I wouldn't be surprised if they get into the 80s. FAU last week, the over, we talked about what was a great bet. I would go back there. I like the over FAU USF. What's your read here in Raymond James?
Yeah, one of my plays last week was FAU over the total. I thought it was the easiest total on the board last week. I didn't understand it. And the good thing about this game is this is one of those perfect storm overs. These are the two fastest teams in the country. Both run a play every 21 seconds. I mean, you have two teams that are going to run two and a half plays a minute. I mean, it's fast. You look at South Florida. I'll start with them. I mean, do you want to bet this team under? I mean,
no.
Every time they have the ball, it's like they're really good. Singleton's really good. They can bust a big run at any time. I was really, really impressed with Byron Brown last week. I didn't know if he was capable of going on the road in a high leverage situation and playing well. You look at his stat line last week, 22 for 28, 245, completed 80% of his passes, 3 touchdowns, had 82 on the ground and 2 touchdowns. It was awesome. He was terrific. That said, I wasn't real impressed with them on defense. It feels like when they get into shootout, throw. I had this number 75.5. I could see putting it even higher than that. And here's a little thing to point out to all you guys out there that say this number's too high. Drew, in sharp money, when this is the biggest total of the year that we've seen. Notice what we haven't seen. Anybody coming in on the under. Nobody wants any part of it. And sharps usually come in and just take the under just because that's what they do on big numbers like this. We haven't seen it. I'm even seeing a 74.5 at one book. So the pace is just insane here. FAU want to throw. They have big play capability. When you see teams like this, you ask yourself, okay, do you have a lot of chunk plays with these teams? You do. FAU has, it's kind of crazy how many big plays they have for the school that they are. You don't generally see them there. You look at FAU, 18 plays, Drew, of 30 yards or more. That's second nationally. You don't normally see that. South Florida's going to have big plays here as well. This game, I think this is like a 55-27 type of game. Over.
Like the breakdown there, Jeff. Yeah, I like the over as well. As we got Northern Illinois and Ohio up next. Bobcats minus 10.5 to as high as minus 11.5 as the home favorite. 41 low total here.
Yeah, Northern we go from talking about some of the best offenses in the country to the Northern Illinois Huskies, who are really one of the worst. This is a team that play with no pace. They have no. They do nothing well. You look at this group. They haven't scored more than, I believe, 14 this year to any FBS team. They scored 9 against Maryland, 10 against Mississippi State, 3 against San Diego State, 14 against Miami O, and 10 last week. Now you got to go on the road and take on Ohio, who, is this a prototypical like Frank Solich type of group? No, but they're still pretty solid and they're still pretty good on defense. Against a team like this, you don't really have to be unbelievably good by any means defensively. They just can't move the ball. What'd you say you have a total here? What did you say you have?
41 and a half.
Yeah. It's super low. You're going to have to figure, again, as I mentioned, Northern Illinois has not really done much over 10 in any game. I could see it 27-10, 24-10. I would go under here.
Guys, thanks for joining us live here on YouTube and on Twitter as well. We got Adam Batman Westbury in the house. Damn late. Let's cash, fellas. Absolutely. You can always listen later on the podcast. Also, for real, letting us know the audio is not.
I just checked it out. It seems
okay.
It seems fine on Twitter.
Well, I apologize for that, guys, if it's on my end. But we got a couple games left here. Talking with Jeff Nadeau at Jeff Nadeau on Twitter. Give him a follow. Also, check out his podcast, the Sit Down Podcast. So we'll get back to the games here. We got Old Dominion and JMU, Jeff. That's one that you already brought up here. So -2, JMU as the home favorite. There's 1.5 out there. 48 being the total.
Yeah, this is a huge game in the Sun Belt. Two of the top teams. I think looking back last week, it was abundantly clear both those teams were laying double digits. That said, JMU won. Old Dominion didn't. An Old Dominion shot at a playoff berther gone. The small amount that they had. JMU is legit. I mean, they're surely the better defensive team here. We finally saw Colton Joseph really struggle. Had a bunch of turnovers last week. They had a bunch of turnovers in general. 5 total turnovers for Old Dominion. You look at true how important turnovers are. I mean, that's really the difference in games. I mean, if you don't turn the ball over, you'll win most of the time. Marshall had no turnovers and won, and they won going away. You can't turn the ball over back to win. But you look at ODU. I mean, they had almost 7 yards of play. They moved the football. This is a true coin flip to me. JMU is a legit run defense, but you got to be able to stop the pass against Old Dominion, something that ODU is not overly impressive at doing. I always like these kind of games when JMU have to face a good pass offense because generally they've struggled to get stops. I feel like this turns into kind of a sneaky low. I put it 52. That's too low because again, we're not looking enough at who JMU has played thus far and the type of team that Old Dominion is. I mean, you look at JMU. I mean, they've played no real good offense yet. I mean, other than Louisville, who scored 28. I could see this game, 27, 24, 30, 24. I think we see a game that finds its way over because I don't think Old Dominion's real great defensively either. So.
Yeah, I like that handicap, looking at what the teams played in the past and if they're going to change it offensively.
ODU is going to throw the football. Okay, you have to be ready to stop it. And you look at a lot of the teams that this group has played, JMU, not real good passing attacks. So this is going to be one that you're gonna have to prepare for. I'd lean JMU to win. I think they get the job done here.
We got 3:30 Eastern for the next one. Temple and Charlotte. We get the Temple Owls minus 11.5 as the road favorite. 47 being the total as the Owls track.
Yeah, not a spread profile I'm real interested in. Slightest leans to Temple, but I don't think you're going to make a lot of money long-term laying double digits with the Temple on the road. Still not a great defensive team. Still trying to figure out the quarterback position there for Casey Keeler. They're not a real deliberate team either. I mean, they kind of sit on the football and kind of go real slow up the field. I don't know. I don't have much on this one. It was a pass for me.
We got next one up, battle. It is Georgia Southern at home, minus 6.5. 60 being the total. The Panthers traveling to Statesboro, Georgia here, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like when these two teams play, it's kind of a back and forth shootout. I actually like the quarterback for Georgia Southern, J.C. French, actually a pretty good player. But again, I hate to be vague. I don't normally bet this conference too often. I'd lean Georgia Southern anything under 7. I just think they're a better team. Georgia State just doesn't have a real good quarterback play. And I feel like at home with the better quarterback, all they have to do is win 1 and 3 against the spread against quality competition. So not real good. Both teams have struggled to get stops. Lean Georgia Southern.
We get SEC up next here. Oklahoma in South Carolina. We have as the road favorite, 43 being the total. So Oklahoma at South Carolina laying 5.5, Jeff.
I think we see looking back, it was a very bad decision to allow. And this is where coaching, this is where you need to stand up as a coach, Brett Venables, and say, no, you're not going to play. You're obviously not healthy. And he wasn't healthy at all, John Mateer. He cost them the game and hurt them. I wonder, could Michael Hawkins have been better? I'm thinking he probably would have. But again, you got to move on. Now you got to go on the road, take on a South Carolina team that it was kind of at this point, they're desperate for. They need a win. They need a big win. These are two teams that are pretty good defensively. I actually kind of lean South Carolina. I'm waiting for them to kind of have one of these games where they step up and play well. We figure out that they are maybe slightly there and are capable. They just haven't done it. I mean, at what point are they going to kind of against a good team play well? Didn't look good last week. I think this is a game where you can really catch Oklahoma sleeping a little bit. They aren't going to have their quarterback in there. I kind of like South Carolina at home a little bit here.
And I like what you said about Jeff Mateer at the quarterback position. A lot of people out there would be like, oh, this player is playing. Like I like playing. And I always kind of, are they actually hurting them? I think that actually happens in college football more than people realize, where maybe the backup would be the better option.
Well, you as your coach need to stand up and say, no, I'm the coach. I know what's best for this team. We have bigger fish to fry later in the season. Texas is a good football team. I mean, it's not the end of the world. You look at what you get with a healthy John Mateer, and you go and beat Michigan. You go and beat teams that maybe you wouldn't have in years past. This also number is telling us that they have no idea where to list Oklahoma at this point. I'm going to tell you, Michael Hawkins stinks, so I don't know that it really matters. Now you got to go on the road and win by a touchdown. I think South Carolina wins.
All right, looking towards the home dog there. Maybe a little money line action on the Gamecocks. We got Kent State Toledo up next. The Rockets minus 26.5 is the home favorite.
Yeah, I would fire Jason Candle at this point. It's time to move on. I mean, this team is just dreadful as a favorite. I mean, they never can get out of their own way. It's been a long time outside of one game, and it was this year where they've won by, I think, over 3 touchdowns. They just don't do it very often. Ken sucks. I get it. They're playing a little bit better recently. But after last week, are you willing to go and run and lay 25-26 with Toledo? One of the great mysteries of all time, Drew, to me, in college football is, listen, for real, we understand that the audio is not real good. We know on our end, I listen to it. It seems fine. Maybe check out the podcast later when it gets on podcast. But yeah, one of the great mysteries, Drew, is why did Toledo move on from Quan Finn? Do you know?
I do not know. No.
Like, I guess he just ran to Baylor because he was getting a bag, and then NIL was. You look at since then, like their offense is just disjointed. Some weeks it looks good, some weeks it doesn't. One of the great mysteries to me is Toledo. Like, they have all these like transfers from Ohio State, and they have great receivers. I think it has to do with the quarterback. I wonder what they would be with DeQuan Finn, with all these weapons they have. This is why DeQuan Finn, don't get greedy, because look at what has happened to you. You left a good situation at Toledo. Everything was working. You go to Baylor. You barely play there. I guess you made some money. And now look back where you are. Miami of Ohio. You went right back to the MAC because guess what? You weren't good enough. Should have stayed at Toledo. Loyalty is important.
Yes, something that's becoming less and less in today's college football. But we'll move down the list here. 2 games left, guys. Every game on the board podcast, wherever you're downloading your podcast. Every game on the board, going live on Twitter and YouTube as well. 1.5 to -2 as the home favorite. 58.5 being the total. UConn, Boston College next up here, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, what has happened to Boston College? They just haven't looked like anything. Can't move the ball. Defense hasn't been good. I think Bill O'Brien, I mean, you gotta wonder how long he'll be there. And UConn is getting closer and closer to bowl eligibility, which is helpful. This would be a really big win for them, kind of beating an ACC opponent. I think they're going to do it. Boston College has looked really bad lately. They're just in weird spots. They can't move the football. I know they've played better opponents than this one, but I don't have any interest in laying points with BC. I think UConn's going to be very up for this game, and for them and for this group, getting to bowl eligibility is really important. Could you imagine they can get one step closer by beating Boston College to do so? They'll be up for this one.
Guys, we got one game left, then we'll bring in Robbie Game on the board. Last game for this segment, and then a best bet. We get SMU and Clemson, 3:30 Eastern. It is Clemson, the Tigers, -9, mostly -9.5 as the home favorite. 55 and a hook being the total in this ACC class, Jeff.
This is, to me, the weirdest number of the year. I don't understand it. I don't get it. If you can actually explain it.
It surprises me as well, Jeff. But at the same time, I guess SMU has fallen off a little bit from last year's playoff team. That's the read, and Clemson supposedly playing better.
And Clemson hasn't?
No, they have too. I'm trying to make the argument.
But hold on a second. And I'm not arguing with you. I'm just arguing with that thought by the odds makers. Can they beat UNC? Who cares? Okay, UNC is a mess. Then you beat Boston College, who we just talked about. Another mess. I mean, why is Clemson a 10-point favorite? I just don't get it. I mean, SMU is just quietly winning games. I mean, they're not like 2 losses. One was to Baylor in a shootout, 48-45. And then they lost to TCU. And I could understand, like, making Clemson a favorite. I could understand 5 or 6, but 9, 10? There was a lot of sharp money early on SMU, and I agree with it. Anything above a touchdown. This game reminds me a lot, Drew, of Oregon, Indiana. When we really look at Oregon, they were insanely overrated. What the hell did Oregon do? Seriously. All year. What have they done? Oh, they beat Penn State? Who gives a shit? Penn State just fired a coach. Who cares? What did Oregon do to be over a 7-point favorite in that game against Indiana? It's crazy.
Oh, the year before matters. Yeah, I know, but it does in the marketplace. You see it year in and year out where teams kind of carry that.
Well, they rightfully got bitch slapped by the betting public. So, good. And I think they're going to get it here too. I mean, with SMU, like I said, I think Georgia Tech's going to lose this week. So Georgia Tech will have 1 loss. Everyone else has, and look, Miami's going to be really good, but SMU is still very alive in this conference. So this is a huge game for them. I don't think Clemson should be a double-digit favorite to anybody right now. At least
I agree with you. I think the number is high. Well, you mentioned Georgia Tech, Duke. That's the next game up. If you got anything on that, Jeff, feel free to fire away. But I'll throw it over to you for best bet if you got one circled.
I won't be a guy to give a stale line. I actually did play Duke at a slightly better price than it is. I do think that the early money on this was very telling, Drew. This was up. Like right when it opened, it was about where it is now, 115, 120 on Duke to win the game. Monday night, it was at 160. Very early money came in and took Duke. A lot of sharp money came in and took Duke. Pushed the number up to 3. Now it's come back down a little bit. I like Duke. I think they win the game. But my favorite play, I believe I'm a game or 2 up on the season. I had another rough beat last week with Arkansas, Tennessee. Fall 65. Drew, they settled for the 2 teams combined settled for 2 field goals within the 15-yard line. That's rough. I mean, one of those goes my way. It's a winner instead of a loser. But I'm going to go back to a total. How does Baylor TCU not get to at least 70? I look at this game. I mean, the pace is there, and both these teams love to throw the football. These 2 teams are both big play offenses. Both have at least 28 plays of 20 yards or more. Both are really solid in the red zone. You have 2 really good veteran quarterbacks, Sawyer Robertson and Josh Hoover. 2 defenses that are just I think, kind of dreadful, particularly against the pass. You have two pretty good offensive lines here. I mean, last year's game got into the 70s. I don't really assume that this would either. I'm kind of I like the over in this football game in TCU Baylor.
I like where your head's at there in the Big 12. And 66 seems to be the consensus number, but there is a couple shops offshore. 60 fest numbers, 65.5 to the over. Guys, great stuff from Jeff Nadeau. Give him a follow on Twitter at Jeff Nadeau, right here on the Every Game on the Board, the leadoff hitter. Man, brought the heat this week, Jeff, and appreciate everybody out there. Almost 1,000 people watching live. You can listen to the podcast, Every Game on the Board podcast as well if you missed anything. But Jeff, I'll throw it over to you. Anything else you want to give a shout out before we shut this down?
I'll also throw one other one out there. This is a FCS. There's no line yet for it, but I would circle this one. Monmouth, Stony Brook, over. My guess is it'll be in the 70s. Every Monmouth game is. These two teams are going to go up and down. Every game Monmouth plays is first to 40 wins. Even last week they played a team in Towson who, I mean, don't have any pace at all. 73. It actually stayed under because the total was 75. But every game Monmouth plays is in the Stony Brook Monmouth over. There's going to be a lot of points in this one.
Little total action at the FCS level. Love it, Jeff. At Jeff Nadeau on Twitter, the Sit Down Podcast as well. Guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow. Until then, cash those tickets.